Now, let's take the conversation to Nigeria. Amnesty International Nigeria says it is gravely concerned over the safety and liberty of human rights defender and executive director of RULAAC, Okechukwu Nwanguma, who had to go into hiding following threats to his life for revealing the alleged corruption by the Edo State Police Command in investigating oil theft and adulteration of petroleum products in the state. Recall that on the 17th of October 2022, the Rule of Law and Accountability Advocacy Center, RULAAC, stated the alleged release of suspects arrested for their involvement in oil theft and adulteration of petroleum by security operatives on 7th of October 2022, who were later released after allegedly receiving a bribe of 7 million naira.
Well, since the issuance of the statement, Okechukwu Nwanguma has received multiple threats and an official invitation from the Edo State Police Command dated 21st of October 2022. According to Amnesty International, human rights defenders, whistleblowers, and journalists all continue to be threatened and detained for speaking up against human rights violations, systemic corruption, or publishing dissenting views on Nigeria. Joining us this morning on Breakfast Central is the Executive Director, Human Rights Defender, and Executive Director of RULAAC, Okechukwu Nwanguma. He went into hiding since he published that material that, of course, allegedly indicted the Edo State Police Command boss. Thanks for joining us and for taking our time to, of course, grant us this interview. Of course, seeing the situation that you're currently in. You're joining us via phone. Good morning, Mr. Okechukwu.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right. I did, try to read up, details about this issue and, some of the work that you'd also done in the past, and you seem to have, carried out extensive work, investigative work in the past. So it's heartbreaking seeing how this has turned out for you with regards to this one. But can you quickly share with us, what the most intricate details were on this case that has led to this current situation?
Okay, thank you so much. My organization, RULAAC, we basically monitor, police accountability. Are committed to, promoting police accountability, transparent and responsible policing, and so we engage on a daily basis with the police, trying to promote police reform. Tackling corruption and all manner of human rights violations in the context of law enforcement. So we got information concerning, corruption in the Edo State Police Command, corruption in investigating alleged oil theft, and all other crimes surrounding oil theft. And so we, having verified the information and with credible evidence, we issued a statement calling for on the Edo CP to explain the reasons behind his order for the arrest, for the release of oil thieves that were arrested, and the allegation that he collected a certain amount of money to release them. So, and of course, that revelation got to the attention of the force headquarters, which immediately directed that all the persons involved in the allegation should come to the force headquarters. And so we, rather than go to the force headquarters and explain his role in the allegation of corruption and involvement in oil theft, he decided to invite me, being the executive director. And of course, I consulted my lawyers, and I was advised that since the commissioner is the one being accused, he cannot be a judge in his own case. And we thought that would be the end of it. And then I began to receive calls, anonymous calls, and of course, besides anonymous calls, some concerned senior officers at the force headquarters who are familiar with the case also advised me to stay on the ground because it appears something, bad was planned from the, command. So I had to involve our partners, including Amnesty International, which led to the alert that you saw that Amnesty issued. So it's all about, corruption and RULAAC, exposing corruption, and corruption trying to fight back in terms of trying to attack those who are giving information rather than, responding to the issues raised in the statement that RULAAC issued. So I have faced threats to my liberty, to my security, and to my life, and this is why I think it has become an issue of serious concern.
All right, Mr. Okechukwu, thank you very much for sharing your time and your story with us. What does this say about the freedom of expression, especially as journalists in Nigeria? You've done other stories. This is not the first time you've done a big story of this nature, but now, unfortunately, you're receiving death threats. Would you say in any way this reflects the situation of journalists in terms of freedom of expression, or, basically being able to share the truth in the country? Would you say that this is a reflection of that?
Well, anybody who lives in this country will, and who is following development, will know that so many journalists have disappeared, have been arrested, have disappeared, have been killed on the account only of publishing truths, publishing issues around corruption and human rights violation. Of course, the case of Abba Jalingo, who was abducted, charged for treason. The case of the other guy, a blogger in Kaduna State who was abducted and has still today not been found. I mean, there are several cases of, attacks on media persons and whistleblowers, people, and including human rights defenders like myself, who are being targeted on account of, the work we do, not of any crime that we have committed, but of, trying to combat corruption, which, by the way, is one of the signature commitments of this government. And so it's a matter of concern, and concern also that the government, which has an obligation under international obligations, under international human rights obligations that Nigeria is party to combat corruption, to protect human rights defenders, has failed to do that. Every day we hear stories of people disappearing, people being killed, people being arrested, detained, and framed with allegations, serious crimes. And so, and I think that this is something that needs to be tackled. And this is why I think that Amnesty has come into this matter. And it's not just Amnesty, the international community is paying attention. I've received solidarity calls from different persons outside this country, which for me is an indication that the international community is watching. And Nigerian government needs to do what it needs to do to stop these things, to protect defenders, to protect journalists, and to to demonstrate genuine commitment to combating corruption and human rights violations.
Well, Mr. Nwanguma, what has the last few weeks been like for you? Not being able to, of course, be with your family and live your life freely as a Nigerian. How hard has it maybe been for you? And also, is there any hope aside the international community? Does this story? Are you also trying to reach out to people higher up in the Nigerian Police Command, the Inspector General of Police, and all of that? Would that maybe help? But most importantly, how are you dealing with all of this? In the current situation that you're in.
Well, as you can see, I like it's stated in the Amnesty alert. I have had to keep a low profile, avoid my home and my office for now, just because I have information from, reliable sources within the NPF, not just in Edo, but at the force headquarters, people who, and I can assure you there are very good men and women in the Nigerian police force who see things that are going wrong and they give information, of course, anonymous. So this is why I am not taking it lightly, being careful. Of course, it's affecting my family because I'm not in touch. I can't. I'm not around right now. I'm just trying to be careful. Of course, my lawyers are also not resting. They have written to the Inspector General of Police calling for investigation. Like I said, we declined going to Edo because Edo is the one being accused. So we have said if the first reporter sets up an impartial and credible investigation, we will be happy to cooperate and play our role in helping to get to the root of this matter. We have also written to the Police Service Commission, which has a duty to institute, administrative accountability on issues of crime like this. We have written petitions, and my lawyers are also prepared to take any further action to enforce my fundamental human rights.
Mr. Okechukwu Nwanguma, I mean, it's been a lot that's been happening, and how are you feeling? Are you afraid? Are you afraid for yourself and your life? And how do you have faith that this unbiased panel will be set up and a proper investigation will be carried out by the government?
And is your family safe?
Well, they say we as human beings, we can only do so much to, in terms of trying to stay safe. I do not feel safe. It is not that I'm afraid, really. If it is about arresting me, I'm not afraid, but it is about the threat to my life, and my family. There are chances that my family is also, exposed to this threat, which is why it is important that the authorities need to do whatever to protect people who are, helping government to combat corruption. So to that extent, I would say yes. But if I'm invited, to give evidence in an impartial investigation, I don't have any problem. But I do know, going by the record of the outgoing commissioner of Edo, elsewhere where he has served and the activities he has been noted for, that is cause for concern.
You've mentioned that if you're invited to show evidence, you would of course appear. But do you have faith that you'll be invited, and that not by the Edo State government, because of course a party cannot be a judge in its own cause as stated by law, but an unbiased panel being set up maybe on the national level? Do you think that this is going to happen?
It's up to my lawyers have written and made that clear. So we are hoping that the first headquarters will investigate all the allegations surrounding this, including the role of the Commissioner of Police in releasing, suspected criminals, collecting bribes and other violations that he has been involved in. And if I'm called upon to provide evidence for the allegations that we have given, which we have, we'll be happy to go and give such evidence, so long as it is an unbiased investigation. Of course, I'm in touch with my lawyers. I will act with advice from my lawyers.
All right, we do look forward to seeing the end of this, Mr. Okechukwu Nwanguma, Human Rights Defender and Executive Director of RULAAC. Thank you for your time this morning, and we hope that you stay safe and that your family stays safe as well.